This past week, Google brought to the market a number of new tools, one of which was anti-gravity, which has now turned into a really useful tool for building websites. That's what they feature. And I can create a website that says on this day, 100 years ago, or whatever, and it will generate images, it will generate stories, it will implement a website. But I sort of like the idea of how about building a CueCam bundle instead? If you can build a website, you can build a CueCam bundle. And so I basically said, hey, I'm here in Carmel. Give me history, significant events, 8 cards. And I gave it the text of my markdown files on my other computer, which I had uploaded up to Google Drive and brought down again. It learned all the nomenclature of CueCam in order to build what turns out to be a fairly interesting presentation. So I put everything on the desktop and it's got an idea of what to do because I built it with one LLM. Now I can bring it in and have another LLM build its own version of that assembly process. And I'll put that information up in a link in this video. And here's basically what that markdown file is talking about. It's very straightforward. What's the grammar and the programmatic side of things? It is taken care of by the excellent coding skills of the engine inside anti-gravity, which is Gemini 3.5. So let's take a look at that presentation. In 1926, we had the moment when one of the builders of the early houses, Hugh Comstock, he built this restaurant called the Tuck Box, which was a whimsical design with a rolling roof and whatnot. And it's still there to this day, very popular. And 3 years later, Edward Weston came to town, and he was a black and white photographer, and he attracted others like Ansel Adams to come, and they used very specific techniques to accentuate the power of the ocean and the weather around and the rocks to create their art. And 1932, there was a park built downtown by one of the founders of this town. And that still is there to this day for concerts, farmers market, and gatherings. The fire department built their firehouse in 1937, and that building stays to this day, even though it looks different than how it's rendered here. Frank Lloyd Wright came and designed a beautiful house out on the rocks, and that's still here. It was recently sold, and it's gorgeous, looks a little different than what's here, but you get the sense from these images how living on the rocks might feel. And the Flanders Mansion came in 1972. The town bought a mansion and 15 acres around it that were established in 1926. And by doing so, they preserved it. Then Clint Eastwood came into town, and he had been the proprietor of the Hog's Breath Inn, a bar, and he became mayor and remained mayor for quite some time. While he was there, he also purchased this Mission Ranch, which is right next to the Mission and overlooks Point Lobos, and it was really decrepit, falling down. They had a dance hall out of the old barn, but now it's a beautiful resort, and people enjoy the sheep that are still there and the view of the ocean. And so there we have a presentation of some of the significant developments in the region, and I was able to assemble that in anti-gravity, particularly generating one image after the other in order to accomplish what was required in those cards.